this message is just for you. You are good enough. This is the episode for you. If you are feeling a bit uninspired in your language learning, let's see what we can do about it. Today, I'm going to give you 4 ideas to get that inspiration back. Now, a lot of the time in the language learning world, when we think about getting stuck in a rut, we think about the methods that we're using or the routines that we've set up for ourselves. And while it is really important that we regularly revisit those just to make sure that things are still working for us, sometimes it isn't that. Some days we're just bored. The routine isn't the issue. It'll work for us again tomorrow. But today we need something different. Today we need to be far outside of textbook world. Because part of the problem is, I know that a lot of you who are listening are deep and creative thinkers with these incredibly rich inner lives. And it's really hard to bring that in when we're dealing with textbook topics in a new language. When we're learning a language, especially in the early and mid stages, the difficult bit, the complexity, is in the rules. Basically, learning the language is the hard bit, but the ideas and the topics that we talk about and write about are simple. We go back to simple ideas, simple concepts, simply expressed. We learn about family members, but we just don't have the language yet to dive straight into analysing the nuances of family life and family dynamics. We learn about naming items of clothing, but we can't debate the social impacts of the fashion industry. And that's okay, it's a stage that we all have to go through. But I feel like when the focus is moved on to the technical side of language learning, sometimes we just feel homesick for the colourful ideas and swirling creativity that we can have in our native language. Sometimes we just need to think a bit differently again. And if this is you, today I have a challenge for you. Work with the random. Find ways to break down the walls between topics and think thoughts that you've never explored before. And here are 4 ways you can do that in your language. Number 1, look up how to say random facts about or random trivia about in your new language, and then go down an internet rabbit hole about anything you can think of. Dogs, stars, a country, anything. Or number 2, set yourself a question that you've never thought about before and find out the answer in your new language. And actually something that's interesting here is that a lot of resources targeted at children answer those sorts of questions. So questions like, why is the sky blue? What is a rainbow? And it doesn't matter that you won't understand everything you read. And you could also write the word for children after your question in the search to see if it brings up simpler and more kid-friendly answers. Just have a go and see what happens. Number 3, find story prompts. The internet is full of story prompts, normally a first sentence or an image or sometimes a task that were made to inspire authors, but they can also inspire you. And you do not need to be at the level where you can write a full story in your new language to really have fun with this. You can use these prompts however you want. It might be making a word cloud. It might be writing some bullet points about the main character in your story. It might be drawing a map of the fantasy world and then labeling the areas in your new language if you've just been learning about, rivers and mountains and other landscape vocabulary. It doesn't need to be a linguistic masterpiece. It doesn't even need to be continuous prose. It just needs to get your imagination working again. And number 4, use idea generators. Online idea generators were probably also designed with budding writers or artists in mind, and they're a great way to find inspiration in the random. They give you completely random pairings of words, which you can then use however you want. You can normally set whether you want 2 nouns, a noun and an adjective, a noun and a verb and an adverb, and so forth, and just see what comes up. Or you can make it a part of the task itself to get yourself 3 little pots or boxes or mugs and fill them yourself on paper with nouns, adjectives and verbs that you've already learned in your language, and just see what interesting pairings come out. Accountant Frog? Yes please, name him, draw him and write about his life goals. Neat plus heaven, plenty to think about. And remember, you don't need to be intermediate or advanced speakers or writers to do these things. If you're feeling intimidated and you can't see how you could possibly try any of these with the language you've got, simplify it until you can. Find your initial story prompt as an image rather than text, and just look up the words for what you see in the image, or words to describe how the person in the picture feels or how it makes you feel. Make your random word pair generator yourself manually with paper so that it only gives you words you know. Mix, for example, feelings and animals and jobs, and then see what you can do with your angry fox scientist. Write simple sentences about his daily routine instead of your own, which you'll have been used to doing from your textbooks. And see if the answer's in there as to why he's angry. So have a happy, playful, creative day, language learners. Get your imagination working for you and for your new language. Have fun with this, and I will see you tomorrow.